Yo guys, what's up? My name is Jaji Prime, the ITK, here again with another video. Now today we are talking about something I've seen on social media, something that's caught a lot of heat, which I don't completely understand why. So I'm just here to give my own perspective, my own thoughts on the issue. And you're welcome to revoke my Nigerian citizenship, since a lot of you seem to have that power. But obviously, as you've read the title, I'm here to talk about Mr. Eazi's comments on the Ghanaian influence on Nigerian music. Now, I'm not here to come and attack people who are just, having a bit of friendly banter, a bit of, friendly rivalry between Nigeria and Ghana. I understand that that's something that's been there since before I was born, and it's something that will continue long after. I find some of the jokes to be quite funny. What I do have a problem with is that there are people, and it seems to be a large number of people, who actually have a serious problem with what Mr. Eazi said. So basically, if you don't know, he said, the influence of Ghanaian music on the Nigerian sound cannot be overstated. And to be quite frank, I agree with him. Now, it seems like people either don't have an understanding of what influence is, or just don't like the idea of Ghana being somehow an influencer on Nigeria. So speaking of influence, influence means the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. Now, to me, honestly, influence does not necessarily need to be explicitly shown. As a YouTuber, someone like KSI influenced me, not just because, he's Nigerian and, he's funny, but it's inspiring to see his growth as a YouTuber, and that's what inspires me to do this on a regular basis. Now, that influence does not need to be explicitly shown in the way I record my videos. If you watch his videos, maybe you might find some things I do here and there you might be like, okay, that seems similar to what KSI does. Other YouTubers as well influence my style and what I do on this channel. That doesn't mean I don't have my own personal style. It just means that, I have a tinge here and a tinge there from these other YouTubers. Now, in terms of Nigeria and Ghana, like I said, we have a very long history. But it seems like people either don't know the value of Ghana and think that Ghana is just some shit country next door, or just, are just purely ignorant. In a way, I blame the fact that we don't have like real musical historians who can be like, this aspect of our music was influenced by this part, and so on and so forth. And with the little that I do on this channel, I can tell you that yes, you can see some influence of various genres on Nigerian music. There's the influence of funk, there's the influence of R&B, there's the influence of soul, there's the influence of so many different genres that have come to become Afrobeats. In fact, Afrobeats is born out of Afrobeat, which was essentially created by Fela, and it's widely agreed upon that Fela is, the modern day, creator, or the modern day father of Nigerian music. Fela was inspired by Ghanaian high life, just the same way he was inspired by psychedelic funk, and he was inspired by Nigerian high life and juju music. He was inspired by all of that. But the very fact that he himself was inspired by Ghanaian music means that we still have some elements of Ghanaian music in Nigerian music. Now, that doesn't completely remove the fact that Nigerian music has its own sound. It just means, yeah, we have a few things here and there that come from Ghana, and Ghana has a few things here and there that come from Nigeria. There's no big deal in that. It's not really that much of a bad thing. I don't like this perception that we have, or this sense of pride that we have with our culture. Culture is not stagnant. There is no culture on the face of this earth that is completely unique and has not been touched by another culture or influenced by another culture in any way. This is a similar thing we had with Jidenna, where he made those comments about going to bury his father and needing, policemen around him. And, people slandered Jidenna, but when he came home, he still received a hero's welcome. Seems like the same thing last year. It was Jidenna. This time it's Mr. Eazi. I don't think Mr. Eazi should have apologized. It's not really that bad of a comment. If you're angry with the way he framed it, ask him to elaborate on his point. And I love the fact that a couple of people have asked him for an interview. I personally have been trying for a few months now to get him as a guest for an interview. Maybe that will happen this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But If things like this are meant to spark a conversation, okay, let's really dig in and look at our music. What aspects do we have here? I recall I did a retro stereo episode on Nigeria 70s, looking at that particular album. And in the 70s, Nigerian music was heavily influenced by funk and soul, which came from the United States. Is that a bad thing? No, but obviously the sounds then, it was pretty popular, still retain some way and some form in our music currently. It's not a bad thing. It seems like we think we're this great country that doesn't have an influence. Our national dish, jollof rice, does not come from Nigeria. Jollof rice doesn't even come from Ghana. It comes from Senegal, where it's called Wolof rice. Wolof also happens to be the national language of Senegal, and it's also the largest tribe in Senegal. Do you see Senegalese coming at Nigerians saying, you know, that's our food and you're using it as your national dish? No, because culture moves. There are over so many Nigerians in Senegal that impact Senegalese culture with Nigerian ways, and there are many Senegalese in Nigeria that impact Nigerian culture. Are we also going to deny that they've impacted our fashion? No, you'd have to be very foolish to do that. So culture is not a stagnant thing. Artists like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, even Childish Gambino have been influenced by Fela. Does that mean they're going to make another Zombie or they're going to make another Authority Stealing? No, they will have little elements here and there that you can listen and you can be like, rah, that's Fela's music, or that sound really sounds like something Fela would do, or you know, you can get little glimpses here and there. Even on Kendrick Lamar's album, he sampled Fela. Even listening to Childish Gambino's latest album, I had the feeling that he was listening to Fela. Culture, influence, they're not stagnant and they're not always glaringly obvious. Sometimes they're a bit more subtle. Sometimes you really need to go and look into things to find out that this thing that you're so proud of doesn't really come from you 100%. Some parts you took from here and some parts you took from there. Especially with West Africa, where West Africans, we don't stay in one place. Throughout history, we've always moved around thanks to the trade that we have with one another. And Nigeria being in such a strategic place, as it's like a, you know, a convergent zone. So I don't know why we're so angry or why there's this uproar. I understand the banter section of it. Definitely, I don't have a problem with people going out, having a bit of fun, laughing at Ghanaians. To a degree, I don't like these whole Ghanaians are dark. There's nothing wrong with being dark. But when it goes to the point of you being angry that Ghana influenced Nigerian music, it's dumb. Are we now going to be angry again, like I said, because jollof rice does not come from Nigeria? No. We're just going to be like, yeah, it comes from there. We did our own thing with it. And, you know, it's ours now. Also, speaking of influence, are we going to deny Jamaican influence in Nigerian music? We have reggae artists. We have artists like Burna Boy, who you could say is heavily influenced by Jamaican music. Patoranking, all of these. We have so many different influences in Nigerian music. Nigerian music is not a monolith. Nigerian music is not totally independent. Nigeria itself is not an isolated country for nothing to influence us. Like I said, we've had influences of soul, we've had influences of R&B, funk, you know, South African music now is influencing our sound as well. Ghanaian music. So really, I don't understand the anger and this whole sense of Nigerians are very united when people insult us. Mr. Eazi didn't insult anybody. Stop it. And I wish we as Nigerians would be this aggravated and this united in tackling our own serious problems. Problems like corruption. There are people who stole billions of dollars and we are not united and mobilized in fighting them. We have problems of killings. Right now, there are people dying in southern Kaduna. There's so many things that are going on that we should be united on, and we're being united and being angry and being proud at the fact that we're angry that someone said Ghanaian music has an influence on Nigerian music. Let's pause for a second and think about that. And then we wonder why we're in the situation we're in currently. That's all I have to say on this issue. I'm quite annoyed at how big this issue has become and how angry people are. It's really not that big a deal. Honestly, if they influenced our music, so what? We've influenced their music. And Ghana historically has had periods where it has been more important than Nigeria. If you're looking at, you know, what Marcus Garvey was doing with the Black Star Line and all other things, Kwame Nkrumah's Pan-Africanism. So it's not that big a deal. But that's all I have to say on this. I'd love to read your comments, whether they're hateful, whether you have something constructive to say. Leave them in the comments down below. My name is Eazi Prime. Goodbye and have a blessed day.